Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a nice day. The internet didn't break all at once. It fractured, quietly at first, like a thin crack creeping across a frozen lake, then split wide open when the quote began to circulate. It appeared on timelines, in group chats, beneath blinking headlines that pulsed with disbelief. Khloé Kardashian says she wants to be preserved soon. No one knew exactly what she meant. That was the problem, and the magic of it. On a pale Los Angeles morning, sunlight slid through sheer curtains and settled on marble floors inside Khloé's house, warming the silence. The home looked like something sculpted rather than built. Clean lines, soft neutrals, everything in its place. Khloé sat at her kitchen island, fingers wrapped around a mug she hadn't touched, eyes tracing the faint steam as it curled and vanished. She'd slept little. Again. In the quiet, her phone buzzed, then buzzed again, and again. She didn't need to look to know what was happening. She could feel it, the way people feel a storm coming in their bones. The night before, during what was supposed to be a light-hearted conversation, half joke, half reflection, she'd said it, a thought she'd carried privately, carelessly spoken aloud. Honestly, she'd laughed, brushing it off, with everything happening in the world, sometimes I think it'd be easier to just be preserved, put on ice, wake me up later. She hadn't expected the room to go quiet. She definitely hadn't expected the world to listen. By noon, entertainment blogs were on fire, comment sections filled with wide-eyed emojis, concern, curiosity, jokes layered over worry. Some fans clutched the quote like a confession. Others waved it away as classic Khloé humor, dark, self-aware, wrapped in sarcasm. But the louder voices drowned out nuance. Is she okay? Is this about aging? Is this Hollywood taking things too far? Khloé scrolled through the reactions with a strange calm. After years in the public eye, shock was no longer shocking, but this felt different. This wasn't about a dress or a breakup or a rumor she could laugh off. This was about time, about fear, about the quiet, unfiltered thought so many people had but never admitted. She set her phone down and leaned back, eyes closing. Being a Kardashian meant being seen, constantly, relentlessly. Every phase of her life had been documented, dissected, debated. Her body, her face, her heartache, her resilience, everything turned into content. And while the world thought it knew her, there were corners of her mind she'd never shared. The idea of preservation had lived there for years, less a plan than a metaphor, a wish to pause, to rest, to step out of the noise without disappearing forever. She remembered being younger, standing in front of mirrors that felt more like judges than reflections. She remembered the ache of comparison, the sharp sting of headlines that reduced her to a punchline. She remembered learning, slowly and painfully, how to survive scrutiny without hardening her heart. And now, older, wiser, and still human, she felt the weight of time differently. In the afternoon, Chris called. "Sweetheart," her mother said gently, the way she did when she was trying not to sound like a manager. "Do you want to talk about what's going on?" Khloé smiled, though Chris couldn't see it. "I didn't announce anything, Mom. I didn't book an appointment to be frozen." "I know, but the world doesn't." They laughed softly together, the shared humor of two women who understood how quickly words could become wildfires. Later that evening, Khloé sat with her sisters. The room buzzed with familiar warmth, teasing, overlapping voices, the comfort of people who knew her beyond headlines. Kim raised an eyebrow, half amused, half concerned. "So," she stretched the word out, "preserved?" Khloé shrugged. "It was a thought, not a blueprint." Courtney tilted her head. "Like emotionally preserved or like literally?" Khloé considered the question. "Maybe both," she said honestly. "Sometimes I feel like everything moves so fast. Trends, opinions, expectations. I just want to press pause, keep the parts of me that feel real before they get reshaped again." The room fell quiet, not awkward, but thoughtful. That night, alone again, Khloé opened her notes app and began to write. Not a statement, not an apology, just words spilling out as they came. She wrote about time, how it felt elastic, stretching painfully during heartbreak and snapping forward when she was happy. She wrote about aging in a culture that treated youth like currency. She wrote about wanting to be present for her daughter while also wanting to protect the woman she'd fought so hard to become. She didn't write about preservation as science or spectacle. She wrote about it as a feeling. By morning, the headlines had evolved. Experts weighed in, comedians joked, think pieces bloomed overnight. But tucked between the noise were messages from fans, quiet, sincere ones. "I feel this too. I'm tired of always having to be on. Sometimes I wish I could sleep through the chaos." Khloé read them slowly, one by one. Her throat tightened. For the first time since the quote went viral, she felt understood. She decided then to speak, not to clarify, but to connect. The post went up just after sunset. A simple photo, no glam, no filters. Khloé in soft light, hair pulled back, eyes steady. The caption was longer than usual. She wrote about humor and how it sometimes masked exhaustion. She wrote about living in a world obsessed with extremes, forever young or completely irrelevant. She wrote about preservation not as escape, but as longing, the longing to protect one's spirit from constant erosion. "I don't want to disappear. I just want space to breathe, to grow without being picked apart, to age without fear." If that idea shocks you, maybe it's because we don't talk enough about how overwhelming life can be, even when it looks perfect from the outside. Within minutes, the comments shifted. Shock softened into empathy. Jokes gave way to stories. People shared their own versions of preservation, taking breaks, stepping back, choosing themselves. In the days that followed, the frenzy cooled, as it always did. The internet moved on to the next surprise, the next controversy. But something lingered. On a quiet Sunday, Khloé walked through her garden, barefoot on the grass, the air cool against her skin. Her daughter laughed somewhere behind her, chasing a butterfly with determined joy. Khloé watched, heart full and aching all at once. She realized then that preservation didn't mean freezing time. It meant choosing what to carry forward, protecting joy, holding on to softness in a world that rewarded hardness. She didn't need to be put on ice. She needed permission to rest, to change, to be human. And maybe that was what shocked fans the most. Not the idea itself, but the honesty behind it. A woman who had lived her life in full view, daring to admit that sometimes she was tired, sometimes she wanted to pause, sometimes she feared time the same way everyone else did. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Khloé took a deep breath and let it out slowly. The world would keep spinning, headlines would come and go, but in that moment she felt preserved in the only way that mattered. Grounded in herself, present and alive.